Next item on the agenda is case number 201503 PC005. The applicant's Legado, Redondo LLC. Is there a motion to open public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Any objections? Hearing none, so ordered. Director, is there a staff report?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission. This is a continued public hearing, and we'll get situated over here. So once again, this is a continued public hearing. The item before you is a continuation from August 20th, 2015 Planning Commission meeting, at which time the Planning Commission considered a revised project from an original 180-unit development application for a mixed-use project. The revised project under consideration is the 149-unit development that you considered on August 20th. However, the applicant passed deadline for submittal of information, was not able to provide revised plans to staff. So let me go back a little bit and give you a more detailed background. The last Planning Commission meeting on August 20th, 2015, the Planning Commission gave direction to the project applicant to significantly revise the project mass, scale, bulk, and consider design changes to the proposed development. They also strongly urged the applicant to conduct meaningful outreach with stakeholders and the community. The matter was continued to November 19th, tonight's date, and staff and the applicant worked actively. We were in communication here during the time that they were out performing some outreach and meeting with various groups and organizations. During about the middle of October, staff became concerned that we had not received revised drawings or seen any progress on changes to plans. Just prior to the middle of October, we were still looking at essentially the same drawings, although they had replaced the modern facade of the project with a Mediterranean design, but had not yet made any design changes. So you'll see some back and forth in your packet about deadlines and information, but we also included copies of our email correspondence to the applicant asking when plans would be received, requesting that they be in by the end of October, and coming to somewhat an agreement that the plans could be submitted as late as the first day in November. The plans that we received for the 146-unit revised project were received on November 5th at 5 p.m. That effectively gave staff only 4 working days to look at a plan that we'd never seen, to look at preparing reports based on those plans, and to present documents for consideration by the Planning Commission. 4 days is not sufficient time to do that work. Literally, we could spend 4 days with the plans. In the limited time that we did have the plans, we have determined that they are incomplete. They're lacking elevations of proposed parking decks and many other items. We have not, in fact, done a complete application review for all items that are incomplete, and depending on the action of the Commission tonight, we may or may not proceed with that, depending on what direction the Commission provides. The applicant did bring forward, as I said, the revised plans, but we have not revised the applications. That needs to be done, and we do need to deem the revised application complete, which has not been done. So as a courtesy to the applicant and a courtesy to the community who cares greatly about the project, we did, as requested by the applicant, bring forward their plans and information for you this evening but we don't have a complete analysis nor complete plans, as I mentioned, to enable you to take action on the revised project that you have before you tonight. With that, it would be our recommendation that tonight the Commission do one of two things. The Commission still has the 149-unit project, the modern design that you last considered. The Commission did direct us to prepare findings for denial and a resolution for that purpose on that 149-unit project with a contemporary design. And tonight we have provided those to the Commission should you choose to take that action to deny the 149-unit project. Alternatively, the Commission may wish, after speaking with the applicant and hearing from the public, they may wish to ascertain whether the applicant is willing to continue to work with the community to modify their plans and to address the concerns of the Commission. If that is the case, we want to put some very clear deadlines on the recommendation. You'll see on this slide that if the Commission were to continue this case, we feel that it would need to be continued for at least 60 days. And we also want to put those January 4 and February 1 deadlines up there so that the Commission and the public understand that those are the minimum amounts of time before a Commission hearing that we need all information submitted. Typically, we receive plans, applications, and all submittals 30 days prior to your meeting. So even these deadlines are abbreviated, but they're still adequate for us to get our work done. So with that, I'm sure there'll be some public testimony this evening, and we present two options for the Commission to consider.
Thank you. Now is the time to receive public input. Would the applicant like to speak on this project?
Good evening. My name is Edward Zucker. I'm the president and CEO of Legado Companies, and I'm here to present the project and to explain the changes and discuss with you all the efforts that were made in public outreach this evening. At every turn, we worked very hard to comply with the city's directives and to respond to community input. The results of that hard work is this substantial change design, which I'm proud to present to you this evening. First, I want to thank all those people who are here in the audience that have taken time off from their busy schedule to come here to support us in this evening. The city staff just said that we were late to submit the application, and I just would like to correct that this is not a new application, but another revision to the application that was originally submitted to the city back in February of this year. As we agreed with staff up front, we were to submit the revised plans and results of our outreach by the first week of November, which we did deliver timely. But first, I'd like to address some misunderstandings about Legado. First slide, please. Legado is not a big outside corporate entity looking to make a quick buck in Redondo. Instead, Legado is a family-owned real estate company for over 50 years. Here, specifically in the Southland. Legado has been part of South Redondo Beach as a business owner and as a property owner since 2006. It has owned the Bristol Farms, the PVN, and the former Chez Melange property for almost 10 years. This is not a project that Legado will build and sell. Legado will stay as an owner and operator of this property after completion. Legado, therefore, will continue to have a vested interest in the local economy's prosperity and in ensuring this project remains safe, high quality, and a desirable place. Second slide, please. Therefore, Legado Redondo will create a community by connecting people and services in a sustainable and desirable environment. Slide 3, please. By way of background, Legado has owned the property since 2006. At the time, this property was in good shape, generating income. Chez Melange Restaurant left in September of 2008. The PV Inn was impacted by the Great Recession in 2009. As you know, Bristol Farms closed down in July of 2010. We had to make business decisions which had to be made to turn this underutilized property back into a productive use. We reached out and contacted the city in 2011 and reviewed with them studying the zoning, the regulations, and talked about potential uses for this property. Our community outreach actually began and started in January 2012. During the years of next slide, please. Oh, you were there already. During the years of 2012 through 2014, which I'll call the pre-application period, the pre-application process took us more than 2 years to meet the city's rigorous requests for additional studies with high standards, as well as to educate the city about the state laws for SB 1818. SB 1818 allows on this site 202 residential units and 4 stories, 56 feet in height for the building. The city finally accepted our application on this project in February of 2015. Next slide, please. Consideration of affordable housing. This project is intended to supply critical housing needs to the city. It is a matter of record that California's lack of housing is impacting the local economy negatively. In fact, just last March, the state legislative analyst concluded that the housing shortage has significantly worsened since the Great Recession and will continue to push the next generation of workers and professionals out of the state of California, causing severe impacts to the state's economy. You can see from the project background, we applied in March for the 180 unit project, which was, and a 37,600 square foot retail project under SB 1818, which was submitted to the city. The proposed 180 units was lower than the 202 units that were allowed. The proposed 3 and 4 stories were lower than the 4 stories that were allowed. We pushed the 4th story to the rear of the property, as you may recall. And we had obviously included an affordable housing component. The planning commissioners directed Legado at that time to work with the community and the city to reduce the project further. Next slide, please. Go back one, please. In private and public meetings, many requested that Legado put aside the SB 1818 project, which we were entitled to build, and revise the project to fall within the city planning code density standards. Now, next slide, please. At the July 16th hearing, we presented the 149 unit reduced project, 37,000 square feet of retail to the city. As a result of work with the community and the city leadership, we reduced the housing units from 180 to 149. We reduced the commercial area from 37,600 to 37,000 square feet. We reduced the building height from 56 feet to 38 feet. We reduced the 3 and 4 stories down to 2 and 3 stories. We increased the parking spaces from 569 spaces to 649 spaces. The planning commissioners directed us at that time to work again with the city and the community to reduce the project even further again. Legado, as you may recall, requested a decision at the July 16, 2015 hearing for a decision at that time. We felt that we had done our work and had met our burden. Next slide. At the August 20th hearing, 2015, at the city's direction, Legado acquiesced to yet another continuance to November tonight to propose even further substantial changes. Next slide. Let me explain our outreach since August. As I promised in July, I and Kiru, the project manager, conducted more than 50 meetings with over more than 100 residents, organizations, and community groups. Multiple presentations were made to Save the Riviera, Riviera Bid, Chamber of Commerce, NRBBA, and others. We emailed the project summaries to hundreds of community members. These meetings were held in intimate settings for productive and constructive dialogues. Previous outreach efforts before August of 2015. This outreach has been a continuum of the previous outreach efforts which we started back in 2012. Legado has made thousands of communications with various residents, neighboring HOAs, community groups, city staff, city officials, by meetings, emails, phone calls, mail, and social media. In 2014, Legado presented at 3 district council meetings. In 2015, Legado hosted 3 open house meetings with over 118 community members attending. I would like to submit this binder, which contains all of our extensive outreach efforts for the last 4 years. Can you please bring them over? We have one for each of you.
Motion to receive and file.
Second.
Any opposed? So moved.
As you will note in the binder, this was not an insignificant task.
That's yours.
There is a tab from the current outreach that was since the last hearing, and there's a tab for the prior outreach. It includes emails and correspondence.
They're right there. There's one there.
Next slide, please.
One there, but I'm not going to read it right now.
As a direct result of further efforts to work with the community, we have made substantial changes to the project as presented tonight. First, the architectural design changed to Mediterranean from modern. I would like to give you a history of the design, though, because we started as a Mediterranean design in 2012. With the initial outreach in 2012 through 2014, with community, it was requested that we change the Mediterranean design to a modern design, which was reflected in our initial application presented before you in March of this year. Now we've been asked, once again, to change it back to a Mediterranean design based on the continuations of meetings with the same community groups. This slide shows the before and after, where we're looking at the prior hearing and the efforts with outreach to the community this time. Next slide. This slide shows how different the project looks now. Next slide. Here's a table that shows all the major changes we have made. We changed one building into 5 smaller, lower buildings in 1-story, 2-story, and 3-story structures to address concerns about massing. We reduced 50% of the retail to reduce traffic. Overall commercial reduction is 36% due to adding some small office space per some of the neighbors' recommendations. We reduced retail spaces to even smaller than what is currently on the site today. We dropped the unit count from 149 to 146, a total reduction of 56 units from the original concept back in 2012 and 2014 of 202 units. We relocated the restaurant and the public open spaces closer to the hotel to provide a more meaningful and useful community gathering space as some of the neighborhood groups requested. The overall building heights was reduced 5 more feet, well below the city code. Next slide, please. This slide presents what changes we made to reflect comments made by community members. We took these comments very seriously and made substantial changes to the project structure, as you can see. We also had to overhaul the total design to accommodate a very strong request that we provide useful community gathering space near the hotel. You can note the change on the bottom picture. This slide represents community members' shared concerns about the retail space as reflected in the before. A few common comments were, we don't need another market in this area. We learned that retail will generate more traffic, therefore please focus on reducing retail more than residential. And we did. The project now has less commercial space than is currently on the site and will produce far less traffic. And the community needs office space for small businesses in the neighborhood, and a small sliver of office was provided in the right-hand side. As mentioned, the overall building height is now reduced by 5 more feet, well below what the Redondo Beach Code allows. You can see on the right-hand side the reflection from 38 to 33 feet. The next slide, please. The reduced project height compared to the existing hotel can give you an idea of how low this project really is. We have received many positive comments on these changes, and here are just a few of these examples. Quote, like your presentation and integrity. Quote, the recent changes to the project is quite commendable. Quote, I personally like the excellent changes that Legado has made to the plan. I will make contact with the others with the same message, as I truly think it will be a good addition to the city of Redondo Beach and the future of our community, end quote. These quotes are in the binder materials delivered to you, as well as many other quotes. On traffic, we understand there's lots of concern about traffic. With the substantial reduction in retail, the new trip counts will be substantially reduced, as the retail is the biggest trip count generator, as you know. By making these changes, Legado is taking greater business risk. As you see, Legado has been working in good faith from the beginning of this project. We hope the city planning commissioners recognize Legado's good faith efforts to work with the city and the community and approve this project as presented. We ask the Planning Commission to make its decision tonight, as it stated it would at the last hearing in August. Thank you.
Okay, does anybody have any questions for the applicant?
Just one. At the last meeting, I'm confused that we didn't vote up and down. I thought you had requested an extension. In fact, if I believe correctly, your request was for 30 days, and at the bequest of our past chairman, it was changed to 90 days. So I'm a little bit confused as to us. I know that a lot of folks in this room at the last meeting wanted to vote up or down, but I thought you asked for the extension.
In discussions with city staff, they suggested that we request the extension and give time to work with the community further to see if there is some compromise to bring the project below city code. This project is below city code in every respect, from height to density. It meets all the city codes. And it was based on that collaboration with staff that that letter was presented for an extension to this time.
Well, I appreciate it, but please appreciate that we're not privy to your meetings with staff, nor are we privy to their meetings with you. So we're hearing about it at this forum.
Happy to answer any other questions.
Commissioner Rowe?
Yeah. Hey, just wanted to try to get my arms around the facts on the what the deadlines were for submission of the of your plans, because I heard from your your words that you were told the first week in November.
Correct.
Okay, and I just wanted to verify, because I, in my packet, I'm looking at an email. It's dated October 21st from Aaron to Ki Ryu, that mentioned some concern about not accomplishing things, and I do not foresee that you will be submitting revised plans by tomorrow, which was our agreed deadline for the November Planning Commission meeting. So that was submitted to Ki Ryu on October 21st. The response from Ki Ryu to Aaron Jones was, among other things, in addition, we believe the submittal date is by the end of October, which is 20 days before the hearing as it used to be. I just want to make sure, because, I mean, it is what it is, but it seems like there's a disconnect between what you were told and some of the email correspondence that was going on, because it was Ki Ryu's understanding that the submittal date was the end of October, which I'm not, I'm just looking at that and comparing it with what I heard.
And there was a meeting between Mr. Fernando Villa, Mr. Ki Ryu, and Aaron Jones to review the timetables that discussed the flexibility on the time that was permitted, that gave us to the first week of November.
Okay, even though he said the submittal date is the end of October, there's some additional information that suggests that it was further than the end of October, which was different than the original understanding, which would have been October 22nd, which would have been the day after the day. I wasn't there and it wasn't on distribution. I'm just trying to get my arms around it because this is.
Commissioner, I'm Fernando Villa again. I just, if I may, would like to add to Edward's response to your question, because he was not at the meeting that both Key, Ryu, and I had with Aaron Jones in September. And during that meeting, the purpose of the meeting, at least from our perspective, was to understand what the timing would be for the logistics of submittals, what submittals would be needed and by when. And the gist of that discussion, at least from our perspective, was very clear that as to the further design, and we had given Mr. Jones an update of the community outreach and the changes that were then in progress that you now see. And what he had conveyed to us is that since the city already had so much of the data supporting the project, all that he would need from us would be the renderings showing the new design, the floor plans, and the site elevations. And that so long as we got those materials, and I was there, and I had understood him to say this, by early November, that should give enough time, because he had all of the other materials that he felt would be needed for this hearing. Now, if there's a miscommunication or misunderstanding, that's possible. That happens in the course of human communication interaction. But we clearly understood November to be the early part of November. Now, if Key had said in his email October 30th, I can't say why he said it, or what, or if it was just what was behind that. But I will tell you, I was at that meeting, and in my letter of November 5th to the city, to frankly to your commissioners, I indicated that we were submitting our materials that day based on our understanding with your city staff. That's we were well within the early part of November, which frankly we construed as the first week. If there was a miscommunication, it was an honest miscommunication, but we clearly understood it to be November 5th, and we worked very hard, very laboriously to put those materials together. And by the way, we submitted more than what the director of your community services asked us to provide.
Yeah, again, I wasn't in those meetings. I can only go by, objective evidence from the emails. But I also, the fact of the matter is that 4 working days is probably, when I think about it, is probably not enough time to make a good analysis. I know, like with everyone, when you get a job assignment and a deadline's looming and you're not quite finished, you usually communicate, hey, I'm going to need a little more time. And I'm just a little perplexed why, there was no communication, in regard to it's coming on the 5th. Or, he was saying, hey, I don't think it's going to come by tomorrow. And then the response was, I've got till the end of the month. And then if someone knows that it's going to happen a week after, I think I would have clarified my statement by saying, hey, I was mistaken. I did say the end of October. It's going to be November 5th. At least there's some good faith effort in that you're trying to meet a deadline.
Commissioner, you make an excellent statement about the need for communication to try to understand, A, what's needed and by when. And so that since mid-October, I and Key Ryu had reached out to your staff by emails, by phone calls, frankly in the form of voicemail messages, asking that we have a meeting to further discuss these matters. I believe, I don't have the emails in front of me, but I believe these dates are correct. On October, I think it was either 21st or 22nd, we received an email I didn't, but Key Ryu received an email letting, in response to our outreach, that, yes, we should have a meeting. It's important we have a meeting as soon as possible. That within 6 minutes of receiving that email, Key said, yes, we want that meeting as soon as possible. Let's meet on October 27th. Let us know your availability on that date. And we did not hear a response from the city until about a week ago, after, or right around on the eve of our submittal of materials. We wanted to have that communication. We asked to have a meeting. We wanted to make sure we were on the right path. We were providing the materials that we were told to provide, and that we're going to provide them on the date that we, at least I thought, until very recently, mutually understood to be the first part of November. Unfortunately, that communication didn't happen, and it wasn't because we weren't trying to have it. We assiduously, consistently tried to have it since mid-October, and it wasn't until early November that we got a response to those requests.
Okay. Commissioner Gant?
I have a question for staff in regard to this. I think we should make it crystal clear what we're being asked of tonight. I understand from staff that tonight there's only 2 questions in front of the Planning Commission. One is to grant an extension or deny the previous project. I just want to make sure that's what you're asking us. And you made it clear to us that we will not be ruling or voting on this current project of 136 because it was an incomplete application.
We highly do not recommend the commission take action on a project that we have not reviewed, not confirmed to meet code, not even until this material arrived, had a chance to look at the studies, which did come separately.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Yeah.
But I want to make sure that everybody in this audience, we've all been doing this for some time, that we're directed by staff on what we can and cannot vote on. And we're here to either grant or not grant an extension, and we're here to either approve or disapprove the 149 project. And I'm at a loss to why you're clapping, but that's besides the point. So I think for us to be spending a lot of time talking about this project, which is deemed incomplete by the city, is kind of a waste of time, because when it's complete, it's going to be presented. And is it going to be presented here? I don't know. I would think it's going to be presented someplace else. But in closing, I think that we have to get this moving.
Okay, yes, sir. Okay, so if there are no more questions of Edward, I would like to complete our presentation as we had originally planned.
Commissioner Goodman
I
has
do
a
have a
question.
comment.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, we do
A
have
related comment, similar to
I
Commissioner
apologize.
Gaines.
Didn't realize there's more questions, sorry.
So I commend you for working with people and making changes that the community wants and making things smaller. But and from my perspective, I can't approve something that hasn't gone through the city staff. I mean, we are not operating at that level of detail. We depend upon them to make sure that things are right. And to just say, well, it's kind of the same thing, but it's different on a project of this size is, it's not rational. Okay, well, we're good. So I couldn't approve what you've talked about because we haven't really had the information that we need to approve or deny something. It's not complete, and it doesn't. From my perspective, it's unfortunate that this happened, but it's not like a he said, she said, so it was supposed to be done by this time. It needs to be done, which means that we can't do it. We can't approve things tonight because we don't have the information to do so. So I think the only reasonable thing is either we defer that until we have the information, or again, as Commissioner Gaines said, we could vote on the existing project, the one we have the complete information on, which I don't think is what anybody really wants, but that's my take.
Commissioner Barrow?
Mr. Villa and Mr. Zucker, I guess I'm having a hard time understanding all the work that this took, right? The set of plans, I've looked through them. I actually like the level of work that you guys did. It's actually fantastic for 90 days. The presentation analyzes both projects all the way through. You took an enormous amount of time to write a letter to us. the amount of time spent by your entire team within the 90 days, redesigned the project, contacting hundreds of people, doing these meetings, why couldn't you finish the gap of getting the application into the city? I guess all this effort, all this work, but why was the city itself left out of that outreach effort to basically see it to the point that we would have something complete to go through and have a staff report that you know from your expertise in working in hundreds of municipalities that we would get the exact same thing that we had before. You knew by delivering this to this point that we were going to have an incomplete package. So you're basically putting us in a situation where you knew what was going to come before us.
Commissioner Bureau, I appreciate your observations, and I also thank you for acknowledging the hard work that the team has put together in putting this project together. I will say that because of the nature of our outreach and all of the comments we got from lots of different people having in many cases divergent requests about the design, we had to take a lot of time and effort all the way through the month of October. And because of our understanding, you're suggesting that somehow we knowingly submitted an incomplete package. That simply isn't true. Number one, this is the same application. It's not a new or different application. It's the same application that was submitted for the 180 unit project back in February that was heard by this commission in March. Secondly, when we sat down with your director of planning in September, we pointedly asked, what is it that you need from us to make sure we have enough material for this body to act tonight? Just as I think I heard you say, we all heard you say, you want to be able to decide tonight. And we understood, as I mentioned, I'll reiterate, renderings, floor plans, and a site plan was all that would be needed because the city had all of the other supporting data. We presented all that material within the time that we had understood was the due date, which is the first week of November, and we had included additional materials such as the comparison table, such as the revised traffic study that we were not asked to do. We submitted and a very, as you see, ample community outreach report, which we were not asked to do. We submitted a plethora of material well beyond what the city had told us we needed to submit by November 5th. So we did not, and I again respectfully disagree with the characterization, knowingly submit an incomplete package. And candidly, we do not believe that we have an incomplete package. In fact, we think we have more than what we were asked to provide. If this commission feels that it doesn't have information, that's certainly entirely up to you. I will say the commission does have the power, the discretion to consider this project, the 146 project that Edward just presented to you. You have that ability. The commission doesn't take direction from the staff. It's the commission that directs the staff. It's the commission that has the authority to consider this project. So it's not as though your hands are bound and that you are unable to consider this project. You have that discretion. You have that power. It's your decision whether you want to exercise it. And we think we presented you with what you need. Now, Mr. Jones has indicated that he only had 4 working days. When we met with him last Monday, we said, please use the time, since the time you submitted the materials, rather than focusing on the 149 project, as the staff did, to look at our project. Even before this hearing, use that time to go through it and advise, if you can, the commission on the merits of this project. We think it's an excellent project. We delivered to you exactly, we think, what you asked us to do. Number one, change the scale, change the architectural design, downscale it, make it more a Mediterranean style, reduce the massing, height, scale, reduce the traffic trip generation.
Well, I mean, we see that. We see that. And like I said, your work speaks of an extensive amount of work that's been done. We understand what our authority is, but we're not abusing any of that authority because we need to understand a project that's come forward. We sat here 3 months ago, asking for your help to help yourself, basically go through and do all the outreach that you did. That outreach also meant working with staff and getting a staff report and a presentation to us that would be complete, analyzing the changes that you've done. Not here's a set of plans, look through it, and as you asked for, basically make a decision and without the full support of staff. And that's really what you're looking for.
We are looking for an approval of the the project that Edward has presented. And we obviously hope to have it.
But wait, I'm going back. The project that's presented has not been incorporated into the staff report because it's not been fully submitted. So how can we discuss your project if you haven't bridged the gap of working with staff to get a staff report that presents your project?
Well, we certainly felt as though we did bridge that gap. And Commissioner, we, again, met with the with the staff. We tried to meet with them from mid-October on, and we couldn't. And the materials, the project materials that the city received, as Director Jones just indicated, were forwarded to you at this hearing. It's on the agenda as a project that is up for consideration. Now, I understand that your staff is suggesting that there be a continuance before, as one alternative, before the commission acts, but that doesn't mean that you have to follow that recommendation. You have the materials before you. They were presented in the package to you. It's on the agenda. It's referenced throughout the staff report. It's up to you if you want to consider.
Are you suggesting you need more time to finish the work that you've started?
I think we've done all that we needed to do. We've submitted everything that we were asked to do, and then some.
That's not what my staff report says.
I understand what the staff report says, Commissioner Barrow. We disagree with it. And by the way, one other suggestion, if I may, in addition to working out the details at this hearing, which the commission is empowered to do, the commission could also vote to approve the project. And if there are elements or conditions of approval that the commission believes need to be further refined, it has the power, the authority to direct the staff to resolve those conditions of approval, bring the updated discussion to the commission for a determination of whether those conditions are acceptable. You can give that authority to your staff. So it's not as though the commission today is powerless to review and approve that project and provide appropriate direction to the city staff.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Villa. You know, I'm looking at this as well, and I see here a letter or an email from Key Rue to Aaron Jones, and it's a response to him asking for the progress, and it says, we believe it's by the end of October, which is 20 days before the hearing. You're CC'd on this, so you got this. If I get something from my staff and I'm CC'd on it and they're giving out misinformation, I'm going to be one of the first ones to correct them. Additionally, Anita Kroger sent an email on the 23rd, which you're CC'd on, and she pretty much lays out architectural plans due ASAP. Summary of changes due November 2nd, not the 5th. Same thing, she sent it out on the 27th. Architectural plans due now, the 27th of October. Summary of changes due the 2nd. I don't see anywhere on here that it's due the 5th, and I don't see you responding to any of these. So please don't tell us the 5th, because it's all in black and white.
So I would ask you in turn, Commissioner, Mr. Chairman, that you please consider two things. One, the November 5th letter where, in fact, I did respond to each of those emails and those points and said that we understood that we would submit these materials on November 5th. And please also understand, before, during, and after we received the email from Anita Kroger, as well as the email exchange with Mr. Jones, we called and requested meetings. I sent emails to your staff asking to meet to have these matters addressed. Those calls and those emails were not responded to until literally just about a handful of days, 2 or 3 days before we submitted our November 5th plan. So please know, we absolutely made efforts to communicate with your staff. Okay. Anita sent that email. That we get that email literally a day or two before she says these things are due, and meanwhile we're laboring under the belief that we have till early November, and we're not getting our emails and our own calls returned. That doesn't sound quite right, Commissioner. It didn't give us the fair opportunity to address this with your staff.
Okay, so it's a he said, she said. Commissioner Young?
And, I appreciate that perhaps, we might have the power to approve, but, as I remember reading in a comic book, with great power comes great responsibility. And I think we have the responsibility as a commission to do what's right, not only what's right for you, but what's right for the citizens, what's right for all the stakeholders. To go out on a limb without our subject matter experts weighing in on the hard work that you propose, I think would be doing everyone a disservice. I read stories in the paper about, a planning department that overlooks a setback, and now, there are, funerals going on 8 feet from a condominium complex. It's an oversight. No, I'm sure no one did that deliberately. I don't want to be in a position where, everyone's in court trying to, to resolve something because we did something in haste. How long you've had the property since 2006. You've started it in 2012. We've gone, I've only been on the journey here in the commission since March, but you've been here longer than me. Let's do it right, and if we need more time, I know as a commissioner, I want to give every application the time and the respect that it deserves on its merit, and to identify any potential shortcomings that can get resolved. Easier for it to get resolved now than later on, after something's, an oversight. So, I appreciate, the fact that we could decide on it today. I like to have facts.
Certainly. May I respond, Commissioner? Thank you. Because we're still in our stage of...
If you could keep it brief, because
yes.
Please don't just be repetitive.
I will
Okay.
not be repetitive, and I think we're still in, as the applicant, within the time to present our project. So and I agree with you, it's better always to get it right. And this is not being done in haste. This is as a result of 8 hearings, 7 continuances. This hearing is the same hearing that we started in March. This is the 8th time we're coming before you. And each time we came before you, we were asked to, and did, go back to the drawing boards, work to revise and change the project in the direction that we felt the commission was telling us, and work further with the community to come up with design. We've come up now with several designs before you. This is hardly an act of haste and ill-advised decision-making by the commission. We have worked long and hard with your body and with your staff, along with the residents, to come up with the design. So it's not as though we're acting hastily.
Okay,
here.
so
But I'm not saying it's haste on your part. It would be haste on my part to be uninformed and to have a thumbs up or a thumbs down on something that I am not informed of.
So since we've gone this far and we've taken this long, it makes no sense to cut corners at the very end. Commissioner again?
I guess we're spending all this time, and I appreciate the fact that you say we have some powers that we're either reluctant to use or didn't know we had. But it's my understanding that we cannot rule on your 136-unit apartment building tonight. Period end. Tonight. Period end. The one you're proposing, the 136. 46. So I would... No. Could I finish?
It's 46, 146.
What did I say? 36. Better. Well, why don't we ask the legal staff, do we have this power to just go ahead and decide things when staff tells us not to? Maybe let's have the lawyers tell us what we can do and can't do.
Okay, so these are your options. One, you can deny the 149-unit project if you find that there's substantial evidence to support the findings in the resolution that was attached to your staff report. And that was pursuant to the direction that the commission gave to staff back in July of 2015. The second option is to continue the hearing to consider the revised plan for the 146-unit project, and based on staff's inability to review that project, I think that, and I'm not going to speak for Mr. Jones, but I think it's safe to say that that's their recommendation because they have deemed that revised plan incomplete. And third, you can approve the 149-unit project. before this body. I don't believe that there's a resolution for approval, but in the past hearings, I believe there was a resolution, so you could revive that resolution since this has been a continued
Talking
public
about
hearing.
the project these gentlemen have presented tonight, and I'm sorry, 146 units.
So, and I'm getting to that. So that was the third option. The fourth option, I guess theoretically, you could not consider what staff is saying, that they haven't had time to consider it, the revised plans, and they deem it as incomplete based on what you have before you. You could say, you know what, we are going to vote to either deny or approve that 148 proposal.
146.
But I'm sorry, 146. There's so many numbers. But if you do that, whether you approve it or deny that 146 unit proposal, you still have to find that there's substantial evidence to support your decision.
Thank you. Commissioner Goodman?
Sorry I asked.
We spent the last half hour talking about the dates and the emails and everything, and it seems like that's all very interesting, but the key point is, do we have enough information to make a decision on the project which was not really officially proposed? And my take is we do not. And nothing anybody has said convinces me anything other, and it doesn't matter who's at fault, if there is any fault, but I certainly would not feel comfortable making a decision based on the project of this size and magnitude and importance without the people who are knowledgeable, as Commissioner Ung said, the subject matter experts. So I can't see any way we could approve this. And I think it does deserve to be looked at. You've spent a lot of time and effort, and I do appreciate that. And I think, I know I can't propose anything because we haven't had all the hearing, but I would certainly be in favor of giving you the time to give staff whatever additional they need and have, excuse me. Let me finish. And having staff do the proper and thorough review that they usually do so that we can all come together, including the public, and see what you're proposing and be comfortable that it's the complete package. So, it's my take.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions for the applicant?
So I just, in closing, since we're making our statement now, our presentation of the project, I just would ask that we would want a decision this evening. We, of course, are asking for a vote on the 146 project. That's entirely up to you as to whether you want to take that decision. If the commission is not inclined to approve that project, as mentioned in the letter that we submitted, we would ask for approval of the 180 project since we believe that that application is still pending and before you. And if at the end of that, if there's no desire to decide either on the 146 project or the 180, if there's not going to be an approval of either one, then we would ask for a decision approval of the 149 project.
Okay, thank you.
What?
What?
This is a question for our legal staff. With regards to the 180 project, that I was told was off the table because it was superseded by the 149 application.
The applicant did refile an application for the 149 unit project, and with that refiling, that is the only project before the commission.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Okay, thank you, Mr. Villa.
Thank you. We just to again to clarify, we do want to vote on the 149 project if that's the one that the commission is prepared to act on and not the others.
Okay, thank you. Do I go through these or call for people in favor?
Call for people in favor.
Is there anybody who wishes to speak in favor of the project?
The 149 project.
The 149 project?
Yeah, which project?
Which? Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Hello, my name is Ruben Chen. I live in Redondo Beach off of Nob Hill. I'm not going to leave my address for fear of myself. I have had the opportunity to meet with the Legado people. I do find that I'm a young family man. I've got 4 kids. They live here in Redondo Beach, and being able to find housing here is rough, especially for young families. And go to church here, and we have a lot of young families here at my church that have to commute a distance to even get to us because there are no housing available, no apartments around the area. So I would appreciate going forward with the project, at least for the help of the young families in the area that want to move here. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon, or good evening now. My name's Chris Gray. What do I need to do? My first time. Address? No? We're good. Very good. Of course, I'm supporting the project, the proposed project, for a few reasons. Number one, I went to school out here at LMU and fell in love with the South Bay. Can't afford it. So I also, 3 kids, married, live far and commute. And these mixed-use projects for the younger generation is great live-work opportunity. Seen in many other cities, and it would be fantastic if we could find that in the South Bay. Couple of things. There is a housing crisis, and quite frankly, with the growth of population in Southern California, housing has not kept up. That's shown across the board in the statistics of over 97% occupancy in greater LA area of apartments. It's also resulted in huge rent increases. Some cities, have the rent control. The non-rent control, we're seeing 10% plus increases year over year. So there is a huge crisis going now with affordability. And it's very simple, as you guys well know, it's supply demand. You increase the supply, we're going to be more competitive in the marketplace to again have young families, kids moving out of the house, transitional housing, et cetera. And not to mention the folks that can afford to purchase but choose to rent these days. The home ownership opportunity isn't as sexy as it was years ago. So there are renters by choice that would also fall in love with a project like this. Place creates jobs. From the retail side to the residential side, a lot of local businesses would benefit. The modernization is kind of touched on already, the kind of live where you work mentality, that mixed-use concept. Bottom line, to me, it's not why, but it's why not. And it's unfortunate, as of course, whether you guys make a decision or not tonight, it's up to you. But it's unfortunate to, quite frankly, see someone present something and almost be bullied from behind. And the last gentleman said he didn't want to give his address. But anyway, I just want to make that statement because I thought as a young American that was tough to watch, okay, for what it's worth.
Thank you. And this is just a reminder, there is a light over there, so if we could limit it to 3 minutes. Thanks.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Anthony White. I'm a resident of Redondo Beach. Excuse my voice. I'm also a survivor of head and neck cancer. As disclosure, I also volunteer alongside the cancer support community here in Redondo Beach, the Blue Zone, as well as Church of the Beach Cities. And I guess why I got involved in this is I was kind of concerned about some of the high emotion that runs along this. I guess you can hear with the murmurs that are going on in the audience, as well as kind of the demonization of the Legado people, as well as some of the sensationalism that's surrounding this issue. So I took the due diligence upon myself as a resident to actually get involved and ask the tough questions. So I reached out to the Legado people, and I've sat down with them a couple of times. Now, I can't speak to the timeliness of the filings, but I can speak to the fact that I did find them, I found the meetings to be very substantive. I found them very willing to listen, but actually take action. So while I do understand that this is a big project, and I respect the fact that you gentlemen are looking at it in that regard, I do as well. I do find that they are willing to work with the community and want to be part of the community. But I think it was even addressed in a recent article with the Easy Reader. There seems to be an undercurrent that is a bit ugly, that I think that there was some realistic concerns that have been raised by the community. And I do believe that extremely large binder shows that they are working diligently to try to address those. And I did appreciate the fact that our communication was substantive. So if there's anything that I leave with you, is I do think that they're listening, and I do think that they're trying. But we do call upon your wisdom in this regard, and I do appreciate all of what you're saying, and looking at this matter as a large project that maybe not able to be rendered a decision tonight, but maybe we can look at it at the next meeting. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Elijah Cameron. I'm a first-year college student. Haven't seen any youth up here yet, so I'd like to be the first. I've grown up in the South Bay my entire life, all 19 years of it, and I like to think about my future and where I'd like to live. I looked at the prices of homes. I don't see myself affording that, to be honest. $1 million on average per home, probably not going to happen. Apartments, those are great for 24-year-old, 25-year-old, very limited. I see Legado solving a problem in the community, and that's housing. If this weren't to get passed, to be honest, I don't know where I'd live. I don't know where also the youth of the community would live. So many of my friends that have graduated from college, they move out to Culver City, Hermosa, they don't get to come back to their home community. And I think that's kind of, I don't know how to say it, but kind of sad, to be honest. And I see Legado solving that problem. And I hope you guys would please reconsider this. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Steve. I've been a resident in Redondo Beach just about my entire life. Live in the Riviera with my wife and 3 kids. I understand a little bit of the frustration based on what I've witnessed tonight from the redesigns of somebody coming over. excuse me. Trying to put a development project up and then getting the design changed from a modern to Mediterranean and back and forth. And a lot of time being spent on their ticket. I get there's some frustration as to how somebody approaches a bench may not be the way we all like to do it, Everybody has a different way of doing business. I find there's 2 sides to every coin of how things are being handled. I appreciate the professionalism on the bench. I find that the staff and Legado, however the he said, she said type of thing, needs to be an outreach coming from both sides. Coming together, having the meetings. I think the project is a beautiful project. I looked at the original design. I wasn't in favor for that. I see the new design. I have 3 kids, one that goes to Redondo Union, one that's in college. I want my kids to live close to home. So having their first apartment or having a new place, I'd rather put them in a nice new apartment rather than some rundown place that's 20, 25, 30 years old. I met with a lot of Legado group. In regards to how the design is, how the use space is, how it flows into the community and the surrounding area. I think it's a beautiful project. I think they've done a lot of work as to reaching out to others, because they've reached out to me, the Boy Scouts, just a lot of people in the community, restaurant owners, business owners, to see what their intake on it was to fit into what the box is that Redondo's looking for them to fit. But it almost feels like just sitting in this room for the first time, hearing the back and forth, it's not a comfortable feeling when you find people that are laughing, clapping. There's 2 parties here. There's 2 groups here. Let each person be heard, keep it professional, and let everybody speak their mind and honor them for whatever position they take. It may not be your opinion, but they're entitled to their opinion. And keep it at that. So again, I want to thank you guys and appreciate your time. And I'd love to see the project go up, at least for my kids and the community for the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Nel Ardelin. I own a house a block and a half from this project. I think it's a great project. I don't think you're going to be able to make a decision tonight, but I'm for it. I think it looks beautiful, but I don't think it's ready tonight to make a decision. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Goran Georgievich. I lived in Redondo for many years. My daughter joined U.S. Army, and we were forced to make some changes, move out of the city, and now it's so hard to go back in the city because there is not many apartments to get back in. And I do refuse paying $3,000 for a 50-year-old apartment when we have this great opportunity to have something beautiful to enjoy and live in the city again. And another thing that I love, I wasn't much favor of the old design because hotel will lose view of the ocean, and we don't have that many hotels with ocean view. Now with the new redesign project, the hotel can still enjoy that and enjoy being guests of our city. Another thing, just a quick reminder to audience, many of the audience here lives on 1800 PCH. Many years ago, that was a car dealership. Now it's condominium complex. Across the street from the project used to be a hotel. Now it's condominium building. So all these people have opportunity to live in this city. So why not give opportunity to other residents to come and live and enjoy Redondo Beach? Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Scott Tregarthen. Live on 521 South Juanita, lived in Redondo Beach my entire life. I was born on Prospect and Diamond, where that old hospital used to be. I was really excited about this project and coming here tonight because I think affordable housing for recent graduates is a really good thing for this community, that people that were born here and have a deep-rooted love, unconditional love for the city would love to have, not have to leave the city, which kind of hurts. I think the plan's made a lot of modifications to not just be this brand new thing, but kind of adjusted to the demands to meet the city's deadlines. And it's disappointing to not, see the vote go through, but when it really does happen, or if it does happen tonight, I'd love to see this project go. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, commissioners and staff. I'm Sheila Cutkus. I'm a 37-year resident of Redondo Beach, and I'm looking towards our future needs. Most people, when leaving the home for the first time, they do not have the funds to purchase a home. Affordable housing, apartments, if you will, is needed for our young people. We are losing our native born. They're leaving for other communities. We need them here. They are our future. The improvements to this project is just amazing. It's fantastic, and I'm very excited. Legado's work on reducing the size of the commercial as well as the units is commendable. I am very excited for the 146 project. It will be beautiful.
Thank you.
Hello, my name's Kathy Kaplaner, and I'm talking loud here. I live on 718B North Juanita, right up the street. I've lived in Beach Cities all my life, lived here for the past 30 years. And I think one key thing that Sheila just mentioned, we're talking about the future, and I've been working and talking to Legado for the last couple months in regards to purpose. What is the purpose here? The purpose is to help the community, help the environment, help those folks who are trying to find rental housing that they can afford, live in an area that they're proud of, that they love, It's also good for tourism. It's good for the businesses here. And we want to keep the Riviera thriving, Redondo Beach thriving and growing. And I think what Legado's done is found a way to make this all work. I'm a business owner, and I also own my own house. And I'm at a point in my life where, do I want to own a house anymore? I want to rent. Where do I go? I can't afford to rent. I have to stay in my house. So I'm making a lot of points here, but I think the key thing is the purpose point for all parties, businesses, the community, the environment, those folks who want to rent, and make this place a better place for people to want to come in and give money to the community. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Griselda Morales, and I am not a resident of Redondo Beach, but would love to be. My mother has worked in Redondo Beach for over 40 years, and I have worked in Redondo for 8 years. My son goes to Alta Vista Elementary. And unfortunately, I cannot afford to live here, but would love to live here. I feel this project will provide more housing opportunities for people like myself to be able to live in Redondo. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Sean Merritt. I live across the street on PCH, so I'm technically a Torrance resident. And I just would like to say that I'm in favor of the 146-unit project and the division between one large complex into 5 separate buildings. Having lived where I lived for 10 years, I've seen businesses leave that corner, and I'd like to see this project go forward so that we can guarantee something we're satisfied with. I'd hate to see a check into cash or a vape shop or something else show up in the neighborhood. So I'd like to move forward with something that protects the area. Also, I think it has to be something of a big scope with a company that wants to reach out to the community, like we've seen so far with Legado in some respects. I think there's 3 agencies in play, 2 cities and Caltrans at the intersection. And frankly, the intersection as it is broken. And this development is an opportunity for the city to get this development to help fix that. And there's also a lot of infrastructure between the water supply in the area that is decaying, and this is an opportunity to have some repairs made to that as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Brian. I've just been listening tonight. I'm actually not a resident of Redondo, but I listened to a lot of good points, and you guys have a tough decision. I heard a lot of back and forth about what seemed like secondary stuff. The bottom line is there's an opportunity here for the community that seems to get a lot of support, and you guys are faced with a tough challenge. I don't know that the options that you have tonight are it's kind of a tough position for you, but I think it's worth looking into because of the things that have been mentioned before from the people behind me about the opportunities that this can provide, and more so what I see is the anchorability of the mixed-use project and where it resides within the city can really potentially revitalize an area that I think could use it.
Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. Don Zerla, City of Redondo Beach. City of Redondo Beach has approximately 66,000 residents and 32,000 residential units. The addition of 146 more dwellings is not a major addition to the city. What's pertinent is that fully 52%, I think I have to repeat that, 52% of the residents of Redondo Beach are renters. Yet, since the 1970s, no rental properties other than strictly for senior use has been built within the city. This is the first project, rental units, in some time, and boy is it needed. On September the 29th, UCLA released a forecast that says housing in California, already considered unaffordable to many, will become even less affordable over the next 2 years, with construction unable to keep up with demand, according to a UCLA economic forecast released today. UCLA Anderson forecast senior economist Jerry Nicholsberg wrote in his forecast that government agencies need to reconsider their policies surrounding affordable housing if they hope to make a dent in the problem. Yet, because of the public outcry, the opportunity for low and moderate income housing in this project has been eliminated. Let me interject my own story. In the last 90 days, I've been looking for housing here in Redondo Beach because the place I've been living in has been sold and I was asked to move. As I went up and down the streets, there were 15 for sale signs to every rental sign that I could find. And I had to move out and live on somebody's couch and put all my things into storage because I couldn't find a place to live, whether in Redondo or even Torrance, in the proper time frame. I'm a former city councilman. I have 2 daughters, Redondo Union High School graduates, go Seahawks. I own a business in Redondo Beach, and I guess I am the type of person that is considered an undesirable to live in this community. Luckily, I have found a place to live in Heritage Point, where when I sat on this council, we refinanced it to extend the affordable housing component for an additional 40 years. And I'm lucky enough to be able to get an affordable housing unit so I can stay here in the community that I love. On 11/10, a study of rental properties in Los Angeles County was released.
Thank you, Don.
Okay. I suggest Legado's not in their own best interest tonight, that you should postpone this and consider the 146 unit as appropriate.
Thank you. And after this, Kim Schaefer.
Hello, I'm Michael Donovan, a resident, a relatively new resident to Redondo Beach. I've only been here about 4 years, but I moved here by choice. I'm born and raised in Los Angeles, but circumstances made it so that education is much better here in this community, so I brought my young family here. When I got here, I was shocked at the values of the properties and the low ability to find affordable housing of any type, even with the income that we were able to bring to the table. So I'm up here to represent my kids and their future, not just the fact that maybe my parents were born here. They weren't. I'm not going to buy into a house that my parents own. I got to start from scratch, and I think I should have the opportunity to do so. I look back and see the difference between the haves and the have-nots in this room, and it's sad because us younger folks, we want a chance too to raise our families in a nice quality project like this. I see what they've done. They've gone back and they've made changes. They reduced the size, the scope, the massing, architectural styles. What have they not done? I can understand why you would not vote because they didn't finish their homework. That's on them, but give them some more time to finish their homework. I can't believe that you would let the vocal minority here, or majority even, represent all the people there that cannot afford housing in this community. This community shocks me in that it needs a facelift, it needs a modernization. More of just keeping the same and change is inevitable. I want South Bay and Redondo Beach to be something that people admire, not just from the history, but from the future. We all know about the housing storage in Los Angeles. That's clearly evident here in the South Bay as well. And I would hate the fact that the NIMBYs here would hold you back from making a decision in the right way. So I fully support this project. Let's do the right thing.
Thank you.
I'm Kim Schaefer, and I
I do appreciate the project going forth, and the development is welcomed, but it has to be to the scale where it's beneficial to the current residents who currently own homes. They work all their life to own a home, and the community, half of the community who say their kids, they want their kids to stay here, or they want to come to Redondo. But we're talking about now, the now of us who currently own homes. So it's not a matter of us not wanting the project. It's just it has to be the appropriate scale. And also, in any community, the input and collaboration is the hallmark of any project. And this consideration ensures the integrity and the fit of the development with any host community. And I think, I understand where Legado's coming from, but they really got to consider the now, the here, and the people who currently own homes, and they want to protect that value. So, I'm for the project, but it has to be the appropriate scale. Thank you.
Thank you. Elijah Cameron, and then after that, Burton Gallery. Oh, if you've already spoken, yeah, sorry. Burton Gallery? Guillory? Guillory. And then after that, Ken Hilger.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Burton Guillory, and I'm a resident of 408 Avenue G. First off, I've come to a lot of these meetings, and I have never heard anybody complain about apartments. The complaint is about the size of this project. This project is huge. To build this project, they're talking about tearing up the median on PCH, which means tearing down grass, chopping down trees, shortening sidewalks, putting in turn lanes, changing the parking on PCH, and a lot of other things that will affect the whole residents in the area. Basically, they want us to reconfigure the city so they can build their project. Nobody's complaining about apartments. Apartments are needed. It's just the size of this project. And this thing has been dragging on long enough. I ask for you now to just deny this project. They own the land. They can always come back and reapply at another time. It's time to end it tonight. Thank you.
Hilger. Carol Perry. Jane Abrams. Motion to receive and file that. Paperwork on that.
Good evening, Commissioners. Jane Abrams, 416 Avenue G, a 19-year resident of Redondo Beach. How do I start? As a close neighbor of this site at 1700 South PCH, I've been monitoring the progress of this development project for a very long time, and especially since August 2014, when the first application came out. It's now the end of 2015. We're still at these meetings. I was really hopeful after the August 20th hearing and the extension of 90 days that we'd be looking forward to seeing some real progress and a project that I'd be ready to accept. I still support development at this site. I've been to outreach meetings over and over, April 11th, April 25th, May 30th. The early outreach were not very productive meetings at the Palos Verdes Inn, and I did send my comments to Aaron Jones and Anita on that. By May 30th, Legado was listening a little bit more. So anyway, in the summer, we came back with the 149, and I've reviewed tonight's agenda and the staff recommendations to you regarding the project, and I'm come here prepared to say I'd like you to vote unanimously to deny the pending project. I do see that the latest outreach that I attended with a community group on September 24th and November 2nd was a step in the right direction, but it's still not there. The project's still too big, still too bulky. The change from 149 to 146 is only a drop in 3 units, and we do want to see lower residential density at this site. I also would like to see more definite plans for the Palos Verdes Inn remodel. The remodel seems to be always pushed aside. We asked Mr. Zucker, and he's come back with just 110 sleeping rooms. I also have some concern about the parking structure that's been proposed, and I'm glad the commissioners are listening tonight and not just rubber stamping the 146, because the parking structure is something brand new, and it, from my glance tonight at the site plans outside, it calls for 127 parking spaces next to Palos Verdes Inn in the driveway where it's close to the Pancake House. So again, I just would like you to take a little more time tonight and listen to the rest of the residents, and please deny the project. And if Legado is listening, they're welcome to come back with lower density and a more fitting project for the site. Thank you.
Jeff, and then the white garb. Jeff Abrams, of course.
Good evening, Commissioners. Before I start my little speech, what shocks me and amazes me the most is we've been going at this for a year and a half, and nobody has spoke in favor of Legado. And we come here tonight when they're trying to get this thing passed, and all of a sudden the whole world shows up. And I find that very incongruous. And for people who say there's no place to find places to rent, I direct them to Avenue G. There's 5 units that are within walking distance from my house that have for rent signs on them. Okay. So I want to start by saying that I'm not against all development at Redondo Beach. I'm in favor of sensible development which accents and enhances the city. Unfortunately, the Legado project is not one of these. I fully support the Planning Commission in denying the 149-unit project as per Resolution 2015-11-PCR and agree with the staff's findings. I believe that any continuance would be counterproductive. According to the letter from Fernando Villa dated November 5th on page 5, Mr. Villa states, Legado will not consider any further reductions or concessions. Further continuances, therefore, are devoid of any practical purpose except to perpetrate an unlawful pattern of delay by death, which Legado will not facilitate. This statement, to me, means that they're not willing to discuss any other plans or projects, whether they meet zoning ordinances or not. Legado has created their own death by delay, as they are the ones who have requested most of the continuances. The commissioners at the August Planning Commission told Legado to reduce the density of the project. As long as Legado's developments consist of high density of residential dwellings, there will be an issue of excessive density that cannot be corrected. Based on the amount of land that the project currently sits on, the effective density is close to 47 units per acre, not 35 as prescribed by the MU3A zoning ordinance. A reduction of 3 housing units is not a substantial reduction as requested by the commissioners. Therefore, I respectfully request that the Planning Commission deny this project and not issue a conditional use permit. Thank you.
Thank you. White garb, and then Geraldine Kirby.
Good evening, Commissioners. Our family has lived in the first block of Camino de las Colinas, which is directly across from this project, for 41 years. During that time, the traffic and congestion has increased steadily to a point of overcrowding. This project is simply a tip of the scale to an unacceptable level. I think we need to do something to develop this property, but it has to be done right and correctly for everybody involved. This project, again, is just too big for the community and things like this, but we should have development on that piece of property. I request that the Commission deny this project in its present form and let them come back and give something that's more acceptable for the community at large. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to receive and file some information that one of the participants here has given us.
Second. What is the information?
No.
The letter from.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing no opposed, so pass. Aye. Geraldine?
Yes. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, commissioners, and staff. I'm Geraldine Kirby. I live at 143 Camino de las Colinas, Redondo Beach. And we come before you again in earnest, asking you to deny this project for this corner. Changing the facade of a building does not change the imminent increased congestion. That's our main concern. I'm not just referring to the corner, but the effects all up and down PCH, where you have to sit through 2 lights to turn left on Crenshaw or Hawthorne or Calle Mayor, Prospect. Adding hundreds and hundreds of more cars to this area would greatly impact our day-to-day living. It's already hard to find a space to park down in the village on Catalina. Try to find a place to park at Trader Joe's. Since Hagen's closed, you go round and around trying to find a place to park at Vaughn's. It's just really increasing. We don't want to lose our village atmosphere. We don't want to lose those big, beautiful trees on PCH either. And drivers just don't want to wait to get to Palos Verdes Boulevard going west. They cut up on our street, and without sidewalks, we've got people, parents, children, dogs walking on the street in danger of these speeding cars. A lot of builders come in this area and add all this density to our community, and then we're left to deal with it. We would really hope you would put the welfare of our community and its citizens above any politics or money considerations, and please don't approve this project.
Thank you. Raju Chabria, and then Tim Smith.
I'm a very active realtor and as well a developer, so I can understand the process that the applicant is going through. And yes, it is a huge project, but the same token is over 4 acres. So I think with the some minor reduction in some of the apartment units, you should approve them tonight. And I think it is a good project for the community, and it also helps younger people. Listening today to a lot of the young people that cannot afford to buy these houses, I think it's very important to have some residential unit for people that are starting in their life. So I think that'll be a good thing for the community for now and the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Tim Smith. I'm the Vice President of Operations of Broughton Hotels. We are the hotel company that manages the Palos Verdes Inn. So I know that most of the people here have talked about what the residential units will bring to the project. I wanted to kind of fill you in a little bit on what the hotel side of the project would entail. There's been a question given tonight about minimal information about the renovation of the hotel. I can tell you that the hotel renovation is significant and comprehensive, total and full. It will bring a dynamic change to the clientele that's at the hotel. When I was asked by Legado to do the revised pro forma for the hotel, the renovated hotel, it transitioned the guests from the property now being pretty much solely dependent on a lot of the lower common denominator, if I want to be quite frank, guests, and a big dependence on airline crew traffic. As all of you know, airline crew traffic is multiple arrivals throughout the day. So those people who are talking about traffic concerns, airline crew business at a hotel will multiply your traffic concerns. Where you might have one guest that comes in one car and stays for 2 or 3 days, you'll have multiple people coming during multiple times of the day, all throughout the day and the night as part of their job. The hotel renovation will bring a premier level client, a client that will not only benefit from the total project as a whole with the mixed use portions, but also will benefit all the local business owners. They'll generate substantial income to those folks who are trying to make a living at their own businesses in Redondo Beach. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bruce Calkin, and then Robert Rykoff.
Good afternoon, council and everybody that's waiting here patiently. I didn't like his last remark about lower common denominator. I thought pilots made $150,000 a year. Mr. Abrams made a good point that all of a sudden you have people here that are for the project out of nowhere, so I'm surprised about that too. My main concern, and I would like to get the density to 35, whatever Mr. Abrams said, 35 versus 45 people per acre. But my main concern, and we haven't seen any Caltrans people here, is that how are we going to move all these residents and all the cars that go by safely? So I'm thinking, is this going to be a tort action in the future that the Planning Commission approves a property that leads to injury of other folks getting in and out of the property? There was a gentleman at one of these meetings that set up here, and he said that the drugstore at Torrance Boulevard in PCH was supposed to have a right-hand turn, and Redondo was given some money, but it didn't cover, the cost of putting in a cut into the sidewalk to make the turn. So I really think that as a resident of Hollywood Riviera, and I was raised there in '49, and I'm living in my parents' house. So having the long look at this, I see King Harbor going from a place where you could land a 7'11" sabot right on the sand to where now I don't think there's too many sabots in King Harbor. So I think that the direction the city is going may be counterproductive to the residential area that I grew up in. And I like I said, I'm in the Riviera, but we all go down to the Village and we all, go to wonderful Redondo Beach. I go to the Spectrum Gym, so I am one of your customers. So basically, I'm against the project, and I think there could have been more outreach, which maybe I missed. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. And after that, Steve Sleck.
I'm Robert Rycroft. I'm actually with Broughton Hotels, and I've been working with Edward Zucker now for 10 years. And I think he's made a significant investment in your community, and I think that you should approve his project for him. Thank you.
Excuse me, I'm Carol Perry, and I believe you called my name and I was out of the room.
I did.
Okay, I live on the infamous Avenue G, and I've been to a number of these hearings, and I do respect what some of the people that have been coming today and saying about wanting more affordable housing for young people in the community. But you have a group of people that have been coming to these hearings, and you've been listening patiently to us, and we do have concerns. We want substantial reduction in the density. And if, this place looks like Wilshire Boulevard in LA, people may not want to live in Redondo Beach in the future, in spite of the ocean. But as I understand it, okay, there's been one meeting where views were exchanged, and then with Mr. Zucker and the Legado, the Save the Riviera representatives, and we planned these meetings very carefully. Then there was another meeting where they presented the revised plan. But we haven't fully had time to study this. But I feel that we've been dishonored by Legado, not really taking into account our views, those of us who've been coming to these hearings for over a year and speaking out. And again, we want a reduction in the density. I appreciate the moves that have been made, but we still need more. And I urge you to support the resolution denying the project with 149 units. I'm getting confused with the number of units and all this, but I think you need to vote on the resolution before you. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Steve Sleck. Goran Javik. Oh, thanks. Joe Olivers? Olivera, sorry. Oliveri.
Oliveri, yes.
Oliveri.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm going to be very brief. I've been to these meetings, and tonight was kind of an eye-opener for me, and I'm still scratching my head about this because at the last meeting, it was my understanding, and I could be wrong, at the last meeting, you pretty much all unanimously came to the decision that their presentation wasn't what you wanted to see. I guess that's the 148, is that right, the last one? 149. Now, that's the feeling that I got, and that's what was expressed by the commissioners at that time. Isn't that right? Now, tonight you've decided that the presentation that they made isn't complete, isn't up to the standards that staff has to realize that it's ready to make a decision on. So it sounds to me like it's pretty much a no-brainer that you have to deny this. It was already decided at the last meeting that you had not liked the presentation. In effect, you denied it, and you asked him to come back with another way to go. Tonight, he came back with another way to go, and you have decided that it isn't complete. Now, under these circumstances, if you were to accept that, I would think that the city has exposure to their decision. The city has exposure if you make the wrong decision. What I mean by this exposure is we're setting ourselves up for a lawsuit. We're setting ourselves up for a lawsuit. Please take this into consideration and let's start over. I must commend what they accomplished in the redesign. I think the Mediterranean looks much better. I think it could look better, but if they planted like 1,000 palm trees or something. But I thank you for your time. Please take into consideration what I have just expressed to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Rolf Strudzenberg.
Better than I pronounce it.
Sorry?
That's better than I pronounce it.
And Michael Donovan after that.
Good evening, Commissioners. First, I'd like to address just a quick comment on the affordability that's been talked about. You know, I'd like to live in the tree section of Manhattan Beach, or maybe a little 4-bedroom, 3-bath on the Strand would be nice, but it's just not affordable. So if we could address that too, maybe it'd be great for me. But that aside, to get a little more serious with this, I'd first like to commend Mr. Jones and his staff and the others that worked on the materials that were presented to you tonight for your vote. I found those to be balanced, cohesive, or comprehensive without the need to be fully exhaustive. Aaron, great job. Great work on all of your parts. On the other side of that, I'd like to, I guess, condemn what I call the Alan Matkins letter from Mr. Villa dated November 1st. He's trying to put a gun to your head is what it looks like to me, and threatening. It's a sad, sad thing for them to have to do. It's full of half-truths, which Mr. Jones has already responded to, several of those. It's just not in the spirit of cooperation that we're looking for at all. On the spirit of cooperation, I would like to thank Kiru. I have met with him personally three times, and one-on-one. He's a good man. He's open. He's forthright. I think he's a little hamstrung by his boss, and that kind of limits what he can do, but I think he could probably do more without that. But thank him for those meetings. Those were good meetings. Don't know that we really accomplished anything, but it was good. As far as the project that was presented this evening, the massing, it's got the same bulk. It's got the height of the new design is a little bit misleading. It really doesn't show exactly where the height is. They put nice arrows and they claim numbers, but it's not really true. One thing that was conspicuously missing from the package I looked through that was available that they that was in the package online, they don't provide what they would call I think the south view, which is the view from Palos Verdes Boulevard. And according to the plans, that's going to be the massive view. They conspicuously left that out of the materials that were presented in the package that we were given online. So I think it's a little bit misleading with what they're trying to present to you. But that's not even up for the vote tonight. I appreciate that. Overall, I ask you to deny the project in its entirety, the 149 that you have in front of you. The staff has provided more than enough information for you to do that. If that's not enough, the general plan, which I have most of it right here and I've gone through, provides far more extensive means for you to add to that to deny this project. It just doesn't meet so many things that are in the general plan as it is. And that's it. I ask you to deny the project. Thank you.
Michael Donovan? Okay, thanks. And Griselda Morales? She did, okay. Terry Sloranto? Terry? Okay. Ann Trong? Chris Grimm? Chris Gray, sorry. Okay, Scott Walter? Scott Walter? Kelly Newell? Brian Felton? Annette, somebody who lives at 535 Esplanade. Bias? Okay, Rashid Abu Fadel. Kathy Kapliner. She spoke. Nelu Sean Merritt. Albert Ramos. And after that, Sheila already spoke. After that, Mai Edmondson.
Good evening. My name is Albert Ramos. I actually grew up going fishing on the pier and having dinner there with my parents. And I never thought living in Redondo Beach would actually be an option for me, just because growing up I knew the prices were so high. I completely agree with this project, especially with the additional restaurants as well as the renovation to the hotel. That would bring more tax to the city. So I completely agree with this project, and I hope you guys go forward with the vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Mai Edmondson. Ruben Chen. Amir Nassif.
Just walking out the door.
Who?
Amir.
Amir, okay. Anand Chabria. Twice Anand Chabria. Justin Thomas. Scott Tregarthen spoke. Mary Trainer.
Bingo.
And after Mary, Rhonda Kress.
Did I win?
3 minutes.
First of all, I think affordable housing is a laudable goal, but I don't see that as Legado's mission. What is the range of rent Legado proposes to charge that all these young people and young families are going to afford? We never heard a number from them, so I'm kind of wondering what everybody's talking about, because it sounds like they're going to go for about $750 a month. But I came here tonight to speak to what was on the agenda, since I downloaded and read it. While I appreciate the effort made on the developer's part, there is still significantly more work to be done to reduce the residential density and the overall massiveness of this project. Fortunately, this is still at the stage of making revisions on paper, and it's not too late to say too big. I realize that the developers are growing impatient with this process. However, the buildings presently on that site have been there for over 50 years. So it's important that we take the time now and get this right. I ask you to deny. Thank you.
And after Rhonda, Patricia Williams.
Hi, I'm Rhonda. I live directly behind the project in the 41 condos. I'm also on the board of the 41 condos, so I'm actually representing 41 homeowners. I want to start off by saying congratulations to them for getting a PR company that is actually working very hard for them. Because I've been to every one of these meetings, and I've heard one person come up and speak for them. I don't know everybody who showed up tonight and spoke, but I know a handful of them. And they are people that are either directly on their payroll, they work for companies that they pay for, or they've been in business with them and have made money off of them. That's a fact. I'm very, very interested in seeing that book. And I would like to take one home if it's possible. And I want to show it to the board. And I want to invite 10 other homeowners to it. And I want all of our input of what did happen and didn't happen that we know about. And once again, and I've said it, I think, at each one of these meetings, I'm on the board. No one from this side has called me and said, let's sit down and talk. So all that being said, I hope you deny the project tonight. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. I want to thank you all for all of your hard work and your efforts. It does not go unnoticed, and so I'm appreciative as a resident of Redondo Beach, also on Avenue G. My name's Pat Williams. And affordable housing, I had that question too. Do we know what the rents are going to be in those apartments? I'm just curious. I mean, I know what it was when I first moved to Redondo Beach, so I'm guessing a new development would be more expensive than some of the older properties, but just a question. And I too urge you to deny this project. It's clearly intended to be a monstrous development that will affect my quality of life on Avenue G, cause horrific traffic and safety issues in an already very dangerous intersection, and provide really nothing of substance to add value to my life as a citizen of Redondo. So even though I applaud their efforts, I really urge you to deny, and I thank you.
Thank you. Michael Dubey, and after that, Susan Rennick.
Thank you. I'm Mike Dubey, Redondo Beach. I didn't expect to talk tonight, but when I saw what was going on, I had to step up. Notwithstanding where we were on August 20th, when the council directed Legado and the citizens to get together and see if we could come up with a solution that was substantially reduced in scale, perhaps with a design motif that fit better into the community. And when Legado said, we can do this by October 15th, and the residents said, no, take another month, let's get this right. And you said, okay, we'll take the extra month. No excuses, no further delays. That's going to be it. And here we are. So, while officially we're not discussing the 146 project, it's pretty clear that there's been no substantial reduction in size. And so, speaking as one of the many people who have participated in the discussions with Legado via our group, I strongly advise you to deny this project. And if there were to be any extension, I would request that the board mandate that any further effort reflect a scale and density that is scaled to the actual buildable land, and I'm sure you'll hear more about that later. That's all I have to say tonight. I think you know where the community stands.
Thank you. After Susan, Nils Narenheim.
Hi, I'm back. I've got notes all over here again because once I listen, I think of other things. One comment about the hotel. I heard a lot of grandiose words, but I did not hear anything specific about what they were going to do. What we have now on this corner is one-story, unique building rich with Redondo Beach history, to be replaced by 3 or 4-story behemoth buildings housing 149 expensive apartments. These dense beehive apartments, by the way, this is a conservative. I went totally conservative because I didn't want anybody to accuse me of inflating the numbers. But a quick search of Ocean View Apartments in Redondo Beach shows that a 700 square foot, 1 bedroom, 1 bath,
with an ocean view generally rents for $2,195 and up. That is not student rates, that's not senior rates, and you're not going to get a family in there either. If he builds larger, slightly larger units, they're just going to be more expensive. Over $2,000 for 700 square feet. That's not affordable. But we're told that's who's going to be renting these. I don't personally believe it. However, let's see, 2,200 times 149, that would be about $328,000 a month of income on the apartments alone. Over a year, that would be $4 million coming in. What else do we get as a replacement? We get 37,000 square feet of commercial space, most of which will fail if they follow the pattern of mixed use that we're seeing in Redondo Beach right now. If you drive along Pacific Coast Highway, as I did today, there are a lot of empty storefronts just right on PCH. Now, while Legado will be making millions to maximize the number of units they can put on there, Redondo will get, once again, beehive, 3- and 4-story buildings, density, eradication of our beach community character, more traffic, removal of mature trees to make way for even more traffic, underground parking. Really? Pollution, irresponsible lack of water, lack of open space, failing mixed-use businesses, noise, crime, safety, and a strained power grid, and completely destroying our community as it is. There's more, but I think you got the picture. I'd like to make some comments to the outreach. He listed NRBBA, which I'm guessing is North Redondo Business Association, which is notoriously going to support development. The Chamber of Commerce notoriously supports development, so that might be a big part of what you have in that thing there. Quotes by who? If I thought that I could give you quotes by people that I didn't have to substantiate who they were or what they came from, I could give you so many quotes in the last 14 months that I could fill 3 of those. Seriously. But if you don't substantiate them, they really don't mean a whole lot.
Thank you, Susan.
All right. I just want to say, as proposed, it's too big, not too big to fail, just at least twice the size of responsible.
Okay, so Nils, and then after that, Joyce.
Please
You?
deny.
Good evening, Commission, City staff. Great to see you again after 8 months, one more meeting. Once again, Legado is playing by their own rules that they're own making up. You made a motion to deny this in July. You came back in August. You guys they asked to extend. We had a we the people moment. We extended, we granted another month on top of that, and here we are today. We've got missed deadlines, complete lack of clarity, misrepresentations. I was one of the few people in Save the Riviera group that met with Legado 2 times between that time. We've had 3 months. It took us over a month with multiple emails, multiple phone calls to get together with them the first time. It was well over a month for the second time, which was just a pure presentation of the project, and that was it. And by the way, that second presentation happened after the project papers were due. The facts are consistent for you guys to deny this. You guys know that. I don't want to spend any more time. Commissioner Gain, I believe you said last time on the August 20th meeting that we need to bring a new leaf to the project. And we did that as Save the Riviera members and as a community members. And we outstretched our hands. But unfortunately, this new leaf from Legado is from an old branch. And we urge you to deny this project. Thank you very much. Have a great night.
You? And then after that, Koni Tanaka.
Hello. I feel like I'm getting to know you all a little bit, and I appreciate your work very much, and I just want you to be aware of that. We know that you are volunteers in this position, so we thank you for your dedication. I also would like to recognize Edward Zucker and his team for doing some outreach with us and meeting with us, and he spent 3 hours in a meeting with some of the Save the Riviera people, in which we had a conversation that was not terribly satisfactory because he refused to address any issues regarding density changes. But I still appreciate generally the fact that he's been going through some changes, and there are some proposals for a 146 development, which is still too dense. We're not discussing that tonight. It still needs work, but it is progress, it is movement. So I hope we can continue to work with him. But I must say, I just want to explain to people in the room or others who might not have understood our displeasure and our frustration when the meeting started tonight. And that was because it was our understanding that what was on the agenda was a recommendation from the Planning Commission staff that obviously they spent a great deal of time on to either deny or continue the project that was proposed for 149 units. And the frustration was, why would they be giving this very long presentation about a project that was not under consideration tonight? So that was some of our frustration, was sitting here listening to all of this when it was not part of what was on the agenda. So we felt that was a bit of wasted time. I do agree with the Planning Commission's recommendation approving and adopting Resolution 2015-11-PCR 021 to deny the project, the 149-unit project. I also wanted to say that in listening to many of the speakers talking about what a wonderful project it was, I believe that most of them, if not all, were referring to the revised project, which we are not considering tonight. And so a lot of those comments indicated that they weren't even talking about the project for 149 units, but a different project. Finally, or not maybe finally, depends on my timing, I just wanted to address this issue of the desperate need that we have for housing. And if I can find whatever I did with my paper here, there is an article that was written in Cityscape last year about build at Los Angeles even though they won't come. And basically what it says is SCAG has been producing fanciful figures for years. In 1993, SCAG projected the city of LA would reach a population of 4.3 million by 2010. SCAG's predicted increase of more than 800,000 residents materialized as little more than 300,000. For the region, their estimates were off by 1.4 million people. These inflated estimates serve as the basis for pushing through densification strategies favored by planners and developers alike. And it goes on and says, the problem here is not that some developers may lose money on projects for which there is inadequate demand, but that this densification approach has replaced business development as an economic strategy. Equally bad, these policies often threaten the character of classic, already dense urban neighborhoods. Ours is not that dense, but it does threaten the nature of our neighborhood. It also says, importantly, the era of rapid growth is well behind us. LA cannot expect a huge infusion of the urban young talent, a cohort said to prefer high-density locales. In a recent study of demographic trends, LA ranked 31st as a place for people aged 20 to 34, behind such hotspots. Okay.
Thank you.
Sorry. Thank you. Thank you very much. Please deny the project.
Coney Tanaka and then Suzanne McCune.
Hello, good evening. You know, I got interested in this project because I live near that intersection, and it's on my jogging route, and the neighborhood streets are, and I started seeing these signs, these tyrannical boots with the name Legado. And I got very interested because I had used the PBN. I've lived here about 10 years in Redondo Beach. I've used the PBN on numerous occasions, and I've been so thrilled that when I heard rumors that it was going to get renovated. But I thought, how awful could this Legado company be? And when I did my own research, I found that it was a very responsible company. On a Facebook page, which there aren't too many visitors on, I also saw their trying to connect to the community through the Blue Zone initiative that we have here in Redondo Beach. And I felt like it was a very responsible company. And when I had actually met with Edward and Key, I was really impressed at how open and how responsive they were. This last presentation that Edward gave today, I really think really shows from a developer view how responsive they have been to the community. Just cutting down how many units they have cut down, how many square feet of commercial property has been cut down, and just a very intelligent design of mixing it with the hotel, with the residents and the commercial spaces that they propose. Because after all, I think all of us want a great hotel here, and having that fused in intelligently with the hotel gives a lot more success to the hotel, which all of us would agree gives a lot of benefit to the Riviera. And so I'm very much in favor of this project, and I hope you will have those thoughts as well.
Thank you. Suzanne McCune, and then David Keeling.
Good evening, and thank you for listening to us, Commission. I've lived in South Gertruda, 4 streets above the project site and near Avenue G for almost 40 years. And I really would like the Palace, Bristol Farms building was part of the Plush Horse Hotel. And it's really a rather iconic, legendary, vintage building that I would like to see it preserved and not demolished. The only real beauty on that intersection right now is the Bristol Farm building with the PV stone and the green lawn and setback and the blue sky. I saw the renderings for Legado Redondo, and it was just all concrete, too tall. The hotel will have no ocean view. They'll look at the apartments. You cannot see any of the buildings on Avenue G. And they only show a couple of cars on PCH in front. They don't show a big traffic jam and at that intersection or even a traffic light. So, and this, there's no sky. You just can't even see the homes going up the hill. It's just much too big, and lowering from 149 units to 146, well, that's really kind of ludicrous. That's no reduction in density or size. And really, Redondo it will lose its beautiful, quaint seaside look right now, and small town, very quaint. And we don't want to lose this beauty in this area. So after 40 years, I hate to see all the beautiful old buildings being demolished and big concrete square boxes going up that are so ugly they don't even look like homes. And I just want no building on this site. If I know I'm being not reasonable, but just preserve what is there, renovate the Bristol Farms building to its original glory, maybe make it a lovely restaurant, a fine restaurant, and fix up the PVN. Let's just fix it now. It was in a fire and 2 rooms were destroyed. Let's just fix those 2 rooms and get the hotel open again, because employees have lost their jobs. And all this time now, 5 months, just sitting there, an empty building. So we can just fix the fire damage, open up the hotel, and then renovate the Bristol Farms building. That's my vision. And so I must ask you to please deny this project. Thank you.
After David, Peter Verikoff.
Commissioners, my name is David Keeling. I live in South Redondo, actually within walking distance of this intersection. And whenever I'm walking past what I call the old Bristol Farmers Market, but I remember it when it was Annabelle's. And I was one of those young people back in the day who would party there on Friday and Saturday night. And then whenever I'm driving up and down PCH, I'm always pondering the question, is Redondo Beach just as vibrant and exciting of a town as it was going back to its very beginning? Or is it in decline? And I know with the economic downturn in 2008, I saw a lot of businesses empty out on PCH. I see a lot of commercial space that has not been filled. And that kind of bothers me. So I don't really know the answer to that question. I'm just pondering that. But I think you as commission members probably give a lot of thought to that concept. And as commissioners, you're probably doing all that you can to help the city grow and be vibrant. Now, like a lot of people, I love history, and I've kind of studied the history of Redondo Beach, and I've also lived long enough now that for people younger than me, if I talk about things that I used to do in Redondo Beach 30 years ago, for them, that's old history. But I am kind of an agnostic on this project. There's a lot of people that are for, a lot of people are against it. And my attention was gathered when I was walking through the neighborhoods, just like this other woman spoke. And I saw the boot and anti-Legado I saw on the corner of Avenue H and Palos Verdes Boulevard, the Save the Riviera. And so it piqued my interest. Now, I don't want to see bad development, but also as I look at that intersection and see what was once the PVN, that's closed. Crystal Market's gone. Most of the little shops are gone. Chez Melange is gone. Well, they've moved. And I don't think that's really good for the community. So we have to do something. And the one thing that I always believe that is the saying that you can't beat something with nothing. But I think that the Save the Riviera people are doing a very good job beating something with nothing, because they want there to be, they want this project not to go through. But I haven't really heard a really viable alternative, something that I think would make Redondo Beach a vibrant and exciting city to live in. I know we need to control growth. I also know we need to have some growth, because I've heard the people earlier, maybe it was all manufactured, but I don't have children, but if I did, I would want them to live nearby, and I wouldn't want to have them grow up in a community that they couldn't continue to live in. Now, I don't think these apartments are going to be for the average young person getting out of high school, but it'll be what it was when I moved into Redondo Beach 30 years ago, and that is for young professionals.
Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Peter? And then after that, Don Moore.
Good evening, commissioners, city staff. First, I'd like to say that I agree 100% with the findings that the city staff put together to support the denial of the 149-unit project this evening. So I am in favor of denying that project. But I've been coming to a lot of meetings. My name is Pete Varenkoff. I'm a 40-year resident of Redondo Beach 90277. And we keep talking about the size, the massiveness, and the example of it that continues to be used is residential density. And mixed use is a very complicated topic, and you know, I'm sure you guys appreciate it. I know Aaron does, and I know Legado does as well. The issue we have is that in the Redondo Beach Comprehensive General Plan land use element, we talk about the Pacific Coast area, we talk about mixed use development in this area, and we talk about residential density for market rate housing at 35 units per net acre. And a net acre means you're building mixed use structures on that acre. And the issue here is all the math that I've seen, I don't care whether it's 146, 149, pick your number, it uses the entire property, which is not the property that's being developed for mixed use. There's a hotel sitting there and it's not going to be moved, and it's not going to be torn down apparently, and it's not part of the mixed use development, and it occupies 1.04 acres of that 4.275 acres. The resultant property says that if I do my math, the zoning limit is 110 as part of that mixed use development. I have not seen a proposal from Legado or a discussion of a project that comes in at 110, and that also accounts for the granting of some additional land, which amounts to 3 units. The difference between 149 and 146, that's the extra lane that is being granted to the city per the requirement. So until we actually get down there and talk about net acreage and net residential density, which is a very common term in planning, I think there's going to be an issue here. So I just wanted to put that on the record. 149 is what I'm interested in seeing denied tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Don Moore, and then after that, Sheila Garcia.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Commissioners and staff, really appreciate all the time that you've put in, all the time that everyone that's been to multiple meetings has put into this. Everyone's obviously passionate about their particular side. To the first-time people tonight, I don't think that I or we have more standing because we've been to so many of these meetings, but you have missed a lot of the fact presentations. We're not anti-development. We want good development on this property. It needs it. And if you want to call $2,200 a month apartments affordable housing or not, that's apartments we're not opposed to. It is the density and the traffic, the additional traffic that'll be generated by a project of this size at that location that we're opposed to. So I too have met with Key and Mr. Zucker. They're both very good gentlemen, and I think they're coming from the right place. But the right place for a developer is sometimes at odds with coming from the right place for a resident in a community like the Riviera Village of Redondo Beach. It's distinct, and this massive development does not fit, as the commission has said to them several times in meetings that I've been in. I want my children to want to live in Redondo Beach, and I want them to have the opportunity to do so, but they won't want to if we change the Redondo Beach. I mean, I'm not against change, but if we change it to massive development on every corner that's crowded and traffic is terrible, then you've defeated the purpose. I want to look towards the future, but we want to look towards a bright future that keeps our village a village. So reduce the density as they've asked you, and you'll get much more cooperation from us. So please deny the project that's on the table now, and let's keep moving in the right direction, but faster and more is my recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, Don. Garcia. And after that, Pam Combar.
My name is Sheila, and I am a resident, but I wanted to make this brief because I'm actually getting really tired. But I just wanted to commend you guys, and I think it's every time I come to these meetings, I just appreciate the fact that you guys are doing your due diligence, and I like the fact that you're taking everything into consideration. But what I have to say, because I have to bring some emotion into it, is I really don't appreciate Legado and their approach, because it seems as if they feel that the residents and the city is stupid. I know it's a simple word, but just the way that they presented and the way he was presenting and kept going over his agenda, I, as a person, don't appreciate that. So I just had to bring that out. And the fact that they had all this time to plan, all this time to prepare, numerous information everywhere, the chance to get to know the citizens and residents and do everything in their power. They're located in Beverly Hills, okay? They have a great icon that they can, you know, at least get information from and then come to Redondo. But I think they treat us like if we don't know. People are saying that we're logical people, we're educated people, and we're not saying we're against development. So let's get that straight right now. It's not that we're against development, we're against illogical for the residents of Redondo. That's what I want you guys to understand, okay? So there's a lot of people in this room. They've brought out facts. There's so many facts here, and like I said, I appreciate the city of Redondo. I appreciate all your comments. I don't know you all personally, but I appreciate the fact that you're taking everything into consideration. And the citizens are here for logical development. I could go on about housing and stuff, but we're losing the side of the fact. It's not logical to put it where it's at. It's not that we're against it, but all the facts that everyone's bringing, it's like a smoke screen, a literal smoke screen, and I don't like that. And all their people that just came up in support of them today, where were they months ago? Where were they months ago? And some of them aren't even residents, and they're coming here to kind of sway everybody. That's all I got.
Thank you, Sheila.
Good evening, Commission. Thank you for all your hard work. I'm Pam Cumbar. I live on Gatecrest and PV Boulevard, or Gatecrest and Milne, right about less than a quarter of a mile from the project. And I also want to thank you for sending me a notification for this meeting tonight, even though I live in Torrance. I take that as, you know, you recognize that me living close by, that my input is heard. Again, you know, I've been taking the tally on the yays and the nays tonight, and I'm sure that they're going to come back and go, well, we got, you know, 18 people to say yay against your 20, 21 people saying nay. You know, again, they bring these numbers out. I've heard it in other meetings where they quote these numbers to try to sway thoughts and the process. And I'm going to keep it short tonight because everybody's really said everything that I wanted to say. The affordability, Susan Resnick said it, you know. Let's be real. We know the apartments in South Redondo, a one-bedroom, a studio, they're going to be $2,000 plus. So any family that wants to move in here. I know when I was a young 20-something-year-old wanting to get out on my own, I got to live in East Torrance to start out with and move my way over here, you know, somewhere I could afford. But, and keeping it as a village. I was with a girlfriend the other night on Saturday evening in the village at Chez Melage and walking around the village, and it was comfortable. It wasn't Hermosa Beach crazy. It wasn't Manhattan Beach density at night, you know. You can't find a parking place in Manhattan Beach up until 10 o'clock at night. You know, it's crazy. The village has its own character, and again, I'm not against development either. But what I saw the rendition on the 146 units, they took away all that open space right there at the corner of PV Boulevard and PCH, you know. So the setback, there's something being missed or looked over with the setback if they are even considering revising the plan and wanting you to consider the 146 units. Again, I just want to thank you for respecting my input and all your hard work. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else who would like to speak who hasn't spoken?
Yes, that's me, Bruce Ellis. Good evening. Linda Drive, Torrance, California. I felt a little like central casting there for a while, you know, new people, but that's good. I mean, that's, you know, this man is a smart businessman, and that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to get his project made. I can't fault him for that. But you have behind you people that you made promises to back in August. And Mr. Goodman, I didn't bring my pitchfork and torch, but you guys made promises back then. We're making progress, and I wanted you to know that. Save the Riviera has met with the developer, and we're at the infancy, but we are starting to move in a positive direction. But I think tonight, based on staff's report, we're basically, I feel like it's deja vu. We're back to where we were in August. Maybe it's time now to deny the project, have it re-come back with more input from the community in a more acceptable for the gentleman who's trying to make money on the project and the residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce. Julie, more? That was Bruce Ellis. S-Z-E-L-E-S.
Hi, I'm Julie Moore, and I live at 416 Avenue G, and I know you've all seen me many times. I've been coming here for months, and I want to thank you all for being here again tonight. I know it's a hard job that you do, and I really appreciate you wanting to get it right. Thank you, and thank you, Erin, for all the notes that you made. I read everything you put out there. I agree with what everyone said, especially this gentleman. I would like to live in Manhattan Beach. If you can make that happen, I would appreciate that very much. I am insulted that after all this time we've been coming here, Legado now brings people here. And the people here, I do know some of them work for them. One of them told me that in the elevator on the way up here. Affordable housing, I would love to have an apartment there. I don't know. My son's out of college. He could not afford a $2,000 apartment. I don't know how a family that has 3 and 4 children could afford to live in that size of an apartment. We want something on that corner. We're not opposed to apartments on that corner. It's just too massive the way it is now. We would like to see a thriving development there, a great hotel. We would welcome that. But it's too big, too massive for what it is right now. please deny this. Thank you.
And after that, Walt Howells.
Hi, good evening, commissioners and staff. My name is Robin Krevelt. I live at 414 Avenue G in Sunset Riviera. I probably physically live the closest to the Legado property. Some people say you could run to it. I could sneeze and sneeze onto their property. The reason that I think most of us live in Redondo Beach, or most of us probably chose to live in Redondo Beach and live 20 minutes from a freeway, was a choice. So I'm just very concerned with thousands of more cars a day besides the intersection of PCH and PV Boulevard. I lose sleep over the activity that will be happening on Palos Verdes Boulevard, people turning right in the morning, and then Avenue EFG, everyone turning to cut over to PCH. And you'll definitely be getting calls for speed bumps, because right now it's the shortcut. We all do it. So I just can't imagine how hundreds of cars are going to be turning out onto the project going right, or if you do let them remove the trees and the median, how are these people going to turn left and cross the traffic? I mean, if you have a visual of that street, you can understand it takes me about 5 minutes to get across or make a left turn to go to PCH out of Avenue G. And Avenue G also has its, Sunset Riviera also has its own driveway. So besides the Avenue G cut, there's also our driveway onto PV Boulevard. So Legado, I believe, has a road several inches from our exit onto PV Boulevard that they're proposing, as well as another, they said, an existing cut. That's, I might be wrong, but I think I'm close. So it's a big concern. And as what happens now with the no traffic in that complex right now is that just walking at night, people with strollers, elderly people walking, we have people in the neighborhood, handicapped. I'm concerned about the traffic in and out, that pedestrians and children are going to be hurt, and kids on skateboards, because there are a lot of children that live through the avenues that do take that route. So that's a concern of mine. And basically, I would like you to look at this, the complex. It's still too dense, and I feel that it has a long way to go for it to fit into the neighborhood. And I would ask you to go with it and adhere with the 149, the city's recommendation, and reject this project this evening, since that's what we're here for. That's what was on the agenda, basically for the safety, health, and welfare of our residents. Thank you, and happy Thanksgiving.
Good evening, Commissioners. Walt Howell, 619 North Irena, District 2. I last spoke at this in front of this council in August about the Legado project, and I pointed out that it seemed to me that it was out of phase with the neighborhood on the way they were building their exterior structures. I commend Legado for changing it to a Mediterranean look. I do appreciate that change. I also spoke about the density of it, and then I see Legado has not really changed the density. I would just urge this council and this commission to deny their proposal tonight, and let them go back and scrub it some more and come down with that density, so we can all make all of our residents and the commissioners happy. Thank you.
Thank you, Walt. Is there anybody else who'd like to speak?
Hi, I'm Andy Shelby, and I live 1800 PCH, South PCH. The 149 proposal, I believe it's still, as I've mentioned before in previous meetings, still too big, still too dense. We have concerns about traffic and safety because as a result of that, and it does not fit into our neighborhood. Also, too, when I was sitting here, and some of the notes I got from the presentation is that in March, the Planning Commission directed Legado to go back and work with the community. I didn't really see much. In July, the Planning Commission directed Legado to go back and work with the community. I didn't see much. In August, you directed Legado to make substantial changes and work with the community. And you also told us in the community, hey, you need to do something too. You need to be proactive too. Don't just wait for them to call you. So we did try and call them, and it took about a month to finally get a meeting with them. I will say, when we had the meeting, finally we had some dialogue with them, which was probably the first time we've had some real dialogue with them in over a year, because other than that, it felt like we were pretty much talking to a wall. Thought we were starting to make some progress, and thought, well, maybe there's some good faith going on here. But as I see today, when they come back and say, nope, they get stubborn, and they say, nope, vote on 149, I see the good faith sort of scene went out the window. I thought we were starting to make some progress. Would hope maybe we could continue some discussions and get there, but it seems like we've taken a step back now. So I do ask you to deny the 149 proposal. Thank you.
Excuse me, Andy, I have a question, because I've visited with you up there for months now.
Yeah.
What is, everybody talks about getting to this place. What is, in your opinion, what is that place? What is it?
Oh, what is it?
Is it 80 apartments? Or?
When we met with them, we didn't want to just listen and say, no, we don't like it, no, we don't like it. So we talked, and part of this Save the Riviera group, and we talked, and so our proposal to them was, a FAR of 1.0, and we said, hey, you decide how you want to move things around. We're not going to sit and tell you this many apartments or this many retail. We said a FAR 1.0. We also, made some recommendations of doing something with the hotel and trying to make the hotel more of a destination. Our thought was, and we're not experts on stuff, our thought was, well, maybe if you did something with the hotel, it might bring people in during off hours, which would reduce the traffic. And so those are some of the things we talked to them about. We did talk about the Mediterranean style, and they eventually said yes to that. And so that's what we were coming from.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
About the 30%.
First of all, if I have a heart attack, I hope somebody in the room knows CPR. My heart's really racing. That said, Veronica Davidson, I live on Paseo de la Playa. I grew up in Redondo Beach. I spent 20 years in North Redondo, and I've spent the last 40 years living in the Riviera. That said, I live on Paseo de la Playa now. I lived on Vista Del Mar for 25 years. I know that corner that is soon to have the death fence around it. Anyways, I just want to echo a lot of the sentiments that I've heard, or a lot of the feelings that I've heard about this project. I believe it is too big, too high, too dense for that corner. I appreciate the flexibility and the openness that the team Legado has presented. I feel like, with the Riviera, Save the Riviera people and the rest of the community outcry, that we're near that crossroads. And I love that this gentleman threw out a figure. I drive by that property every day to get to the freeway. And, you wanted a number? 110. That feels doable. Lower in the structure, the Mediterranean plan looks great. I'm opposed to mixed use. I don't think it works based on the other mixed uses that are around the community. I've been to Coco Nails a couple times, and I've eaten at Ortega 21 one time. So that said, also back to, I feel like the Legado team is really missing an opportunity to reach out to the community. Just about 2 weeks ago, I saw that sign on the inside of where the driveway of the Plush Horse or the PVN is. It's a kind of a little sign for as busy as that place is, when there's a huge sign that says Bristol Farms. So if they want that connection with the community, put it there. There's 1,000 people, hundreds of thousands of people that are sitting at those now really long lights. So anyways, to the thing about, we need housing in LA, it's like, I'm sorry, we don't need it in Los Angeles. And about the, it's so hard to find an apartment. We had a condominium at Brookside Village. I hated that kind of living. We put our condo up for sale. The day we went into escrow, I drove down Paseo de la Playa and found the apartment that we've been in now for 6 years. So I am one of those renters by choice. We want to live at the beach, keep it affordable, and keep, final thought is just, I want to keep the integrity of the village. Like a lot of people have said, it's a unique place, a beachy ocean feel, and I don't want it to look like Wilshire and, you know, side of the Harbor Freeway, those
Thank
things
you.
that are going on. So thank you.
Hi again, I'm Arena Shelby. I've been here many times before. I live in Redondo Beach. I'm very concerned about the misstatements and misrepresentations I've heard from Legado tonight, and which were stated in the correspondence presented for this meeting. They have twisted facts so that they can get what they want. This is a far cry from the new leaf that Legado claims to have turned and sends the wrong message to the community. You, the Planning Commission, have already decided to deny the 149-unit project, and staff made substantial findings to support that denial. As we have previously discussed, the project is way too dense, bulky, massive, and not in keeping with the community. When our group met with Legado, we asked for a floor area ratio of 1.0. This project is maxed at 1.5. There is no description of the hotel redesign, and yet this is one continuous property, and all aspects of it need to be addressed. Even Legado would like to see the revised 146-unit project rather than the old 149 project. And most of the people who spoke in favor of Legado tonight are supporting the 146 project or the 180 project, but not the 149 project. Just to be clear, we're not asking for a park. We would like to see a project of reasonable density that fits in with our community. If Legado wants to submit a new proposal with their 146-unit design, I, for one, would be willing to continue the conversation with them to make it workable for all stakeholders. I urge you to deny the 149-unit project that's before you tonight. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Marcia Guillermo. I live in District 1, and I'm here today to ask to please deny the project for the 149 unit as recommended by staff. I usually don't agree with their recommendation, but this time I do. Okay. I was watching this at home, and I decided to come because there were several misstatements done by the developer, but my major concern is the traffic. Traffic is a major concern all over the city. Even at night, even when I was driving this way, traffic is a concern. I invite you, all of you, to go to PCH, Torrance Boulevard, and stand there for hours, just a few hours, and you will get the flavor of it. And I do not agree. I want to see a report from Caltrans. What's going on with the mediums being removed and the trees being removed and the parking spots being removed? That is totally unacceptable. Totally unacceptable. My second issue is that the hotel, that's a major factor for the city. That's where we need to focus on. Why don't we make that, like somebody said, a destination? We need to hear what the updates, what are they doing to make it better, to integrate it into the village. The other one I have is the Caltrans, the hotel, traffic, and let's do something about it, about apartments. Have the current owners of apartments, one of them being Mr. Ginsburg, to renovate those apartments. We need to demand those owners to, make the upgrades, necessary upgrades, upkeeps with the rents that they are charging. That's something that we need to do. Thank you, and please deny this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcy. Anyone else?
Yes.
Come on down.
Good evening, commissioners. My name is Igor Nastaskin, and I live in the Howard Riviera. I drive by this project every day, and I think that you have to realize that this intersection is probably the most unique, arguably one of the most important intersections in Redondo Beach Riviera area there. And what you're looking at right now, you have a one-time opportunity to make the right decisions. And if you make the wrong decision in this, I mean, it's going to scar this area forever. You won't be able to change that. I'm going to speak from two perspectives, one from the personal perspective and one from a professional perspective. I'm a real estate agent. So from the personal perspective, I appreciate the fact that Legado changed this from the contemporary style to the Mediterranean style. I think it's the move in the right direction. But the density of that is still too high. I echo what everybody's saying. I think it's just driving by it is just too much. You need more space out there. From the second perspective is from the real estate perspective. I think people that live in that area are going to be adversely affected. Their values, their real estate values, are going to be adversely affected by the size of this development. I mean, I would say that about 5 to 10% adverse impact on people around that area. Obviously, as you get further out, it's probably not going to be as much. And then thirdly, I guess I'm a little bit confused. I get this email with this nice presentation here for 146 units, and I come in today and I see that they're asking for 149 units. So I don't know what happened. I don't know.
No, you just have it backwards.
I'm sorry?
You have it back.
It's 149 is what they're asking.
149 is the only application we have.
Correct, but what I received is 146.
That's correct.
Just like last week.
That's correct.
So what happened?
That's correct.
I mean, what? I don't know. I mean, so I'm confused.
That's correct.
Yeah. So anyway, so that's all I wanted to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak?
Nicely.
If not, would the applicant like to briefly comment on any testimony given?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. We do have just some brief comments or questions. In the discussion we had earlier, there was some uncertainty, I think, that still remains, at least in our minds, and we would ask the city attorney and the city planner a question, which is whether the city is considering the 146-unit project as a new application for purposes of the Subdivision Map Act. It has some impact on how we would proceed. If the city attorney or the city planner would be willing to answer that question, we would greatly appreciate it.
Mr. Villa, questions need to be addressed to
I
the
will address
commission.
that question to you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
If you would ask your staff, we would greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, as they've stated earlier, we will be deciding either on the 149 or a continuance, so that you can complete the 146 unit or the package that you were submitting that was submitted late and incomplete. And Aaron, is that correct?
Let's let him complete his questions, but
okay.
We'll answer them all when we can.
Well, I appreciate that, Mr. Chairman. If we're not going to have an answer to that question, I just want to be clear from our end that if the city considers the 146 project submittal a new application, we do not consider it. We think it's the same application with a new version as directed by the commission to come up with a new design. But if the city will consider the 146 project as a new application, then we would have to withdraw it. And because we don't think it is a new application, we would have to withdraw it. And then we would ask for a vote for the 149 project. Obviously, we would want approval, but that is up to you. And I think that's all that we have. Thank you very much.
Thanks. No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Yes, I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, so moved.
Okay. I'm still lit up.
I didn't hear the motion.
Vote to close the public.
Oh, okay.
But I do have another.
Now, does Nick? Oh, I'm sorry.
I do have I'd like to,
Commissioner Goodman.
given that the only thing on the table here is the
the 149 unit project presented to us in August, and that although the 146 seemed to have some support, Legado is apparently not interested in pursuing that. So I move to deny the application for the 149 as presented in our August meeting, using the wording and resolution number 2015-11-PCR-2-021.
Just one question. Should we not be dealing with the request for the extension first?
There's no request.
I thought there was a request for an extension.
They don't want an extension. They want us to vote on 149.
Do we have a second so we can discuss it?
I was hoping to have a discussion.
Yeah, I want to have. I've got a couple of questions. I don't want to go straight to motions.
It wasn't clear to me that the question on whether it was a new application which would have resulted in a withdrawal was answered.
Yeah, I would like to hear an answer to that too.
Okay.
Okay, I'll definitely take a run at responding to that question. This is a revised proposal and a revised application. The applicant has yet to complete the revisions to make that revised application complete. So, as it stands, the only complete application we have is for the 149 units. We do not have a new track map for a 146 unit project. We do not have any number of, I could probably name 10 things that it would take to get the a different project before this commission. And of course we'd be happy to do that with the applicant. We have a recommendation, or at least an option up here, if the applicant was willing to consider. I should also point out to the commission, whether or not the applicant requests it, could continue the hearing. That's always an option to you.
Well, let me add to my thoughts here is that the applicant has been very specific about not wanting to go forward and continue to complete the work to present the 146 unit. So I see no reason to mess around with it. If they don't want to do it, who is going to do it? I don't see any alternative other than to either approve or deny, and my motion is to.
Commissioner Bureau?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think I would like a little bit of a explanation or just an understanding of what does a denial mean, and does the applicant have a right to appeal that denial to go to City Council? And just kind of, if you can go through the process of what that means.
Commissioner Bureau, if the commission decided tonight to deny the project, the 149 project, then the applicant could appeal that decision. That decision would go before the City Council. Depending on what that decision was, anyone could appeal that decision. So whether it was a denial or an approval, someone could appeal that decision. That would obviously go to a court case.
Okay, and I guess based on the amount of work that's been done and the level of effort that's been done, trying to bridge some of that gap, I'm happy on some of the work that's been done. I mean, there's been great effort, but I'm disappointed that the applicant didn't take this across the finish line like they could have. So we're in a situation where, granting the denial is almost what the applicant at this point wants, so they can appeal it to then move forward. I feel that there's an opportunity here to see the project through and finish the application that they're trying to do. I guess I'm looking at them as there's absolutely certain that they're not going to do anything else. So I guess the public hearing's been closed. Never mind, I can't call you for it. So thank you for the explanation.
If we deny the 149 and they take it to the City Council and whatever happens there, but if they submit a new project, be it 146 or 126 or whatever was, does it all come back here?
If the commission made a decision to deny the 149 project,
right,
and there was an appeal, that would go before the City Council.
Right.
if the applicant wanted to submit a project for 146 and wanted to go through the process, that could theoretically be a parallel track that could theoretically be before the Planning Commission.
Let me ask legal. So if we denied it, they could just end it right there and they could come back with a total new plan again, correct?
Correct.
They could come back potentially with the high density housing, 180, and go that route.
Correct.
Okay. Any other questions from Commission? We have a motion. Do we have a second?
We have a motion and a second?
Commissioner Goodman, do you want to restate your motion?
Yes, I move to deny per the resolution number 2015-11-PCR-021, using that wording.
I second that.
We have a motion and we have a second. Any discussion?
Nope.
Call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
All those opposed? Passes.
More thing, you know, I'm not really happy with this, and I'm very disappointed with the Legado's desire to put us in this position. I would have thought they would have gone forward with it, but that really left me with no choice, because I don't think we can just mess around with this thing forever.
Well, Aaron, can we take a 5-minute recess?